Hi guys, welcome back to Reserved Investments on YouTube, and welcome to part 6 of my 5,000 subscriber Q&A series. This is the sleepy edition of Sean that you are getting tonight, because I have been hitting the gym 1 to 2 hours per day over the last 2 to 3 weeks, and I've only been sleeping 4 to 5 hours per night, because that extra time that I'm using to exercise has to come from somewhere. So as a result, it is starting to catch up with me. So I apologize. I know my hair is not combed in this video. I know I probably look like proverbial shit. Please stay with me though, because this is the finale of the 5,000 subscriber Q&A series. So first question, with that being said, Sean, can you talk about the market for uranium glass? Is it really the Beanie Babies of the glass market? The answer is no. For those unaware, uranium glass does have uranium in it, which means it is quote unquote radioactive per se, but it is overall harmless, which makes uranium glass something of a curiosity, because when you do shine a ultraviolet light on it in the dark, it will glow in a unique yellow or green hue. It looks incredible. I have a couple of pieces of uranium glass in the upstairs display cabinet that I will show people who have an interest in that particular antique or collectible. But overall, it's not really a gimmick. It's just something that was discovered over the years, and glass manufacturers have incorporated it in some of the particular products that they produce, because they know if you turn off the lights and you shine a ultraviolet light to it, it does glow in a hue of green or yellow, and it looks pretty cool. And as a result, if you list it on eBay, there are some enthusiasts that will pay a premium for it. But the market for that is not really speculative, as it wasn't mass produced as a gimmick. It was kind of something that was found later on. Now, are there certain companies that did produce marbles or certain pieces of glass knowing that that was the gimmick that was going to help sell it? The answer is yes. But uranium glass is not dangerous, even if you drink out of it. It's not going to hurt you. The uranium that's used in it is oxidated. It is not in raw form. So yes, it will register lightly on a Geiger counter. For those of you that don't know what that is a scientific device that measures radiation in the atmosphere, but it's not something significant that is going to get you sick, that is going to cause cancer, that is going to cause you to become ill, regardless of whether you drink off of it, eat off of it, or the like. So I hope that answers your question. Next question. Sean, thoughts on the market for Disney Black Diamond VHS tapes? Do these have some legs to it long term, or is it possibly just hype market manipulation? Again, this is the subject of many clickbait videos out there where people are telling you, hey, this particular Black Diamond VHS Disney movie is worth $5,000 to $10,000. Then you search eBay and you notice, oh, it sold for $5 to $10 in the last 30 to 60 days. Are there people trying to manipulate this market? Yes, they've been trying to manipulate it for years now. It hasn't caught on. I'm sorry, people, but in most cases, collecting VHS tapes and movies is a bad investment over the long term. Are there certain movies that were no longer available on DVD, on Blu-ray, or in digital format that are selling for a premium? The answer is yes, but it is a very esoteric niche collectible. It is not a market for long-term speculation and investment overall. Enough said. Hey, Sean, I have 2 questions for you. You have said in the past you are really big into learning about the art market. So my question for you is, what is the most you have ever paid for a painting, and would you ever consider showing that piece of art on video? Well, the most I have ever paid for a painting was $80,000 for an Andy Warhol original, and I bought it to flip, and I was able to flip it in less than 2 weeks for $120,000. So that is the most I ever paid for a painting, was $80,000 cash. I do have 2 Picasso sketches, not paintings, sketches in my collection that are sitting in climate-controlled storage right now that are worth anywhere from $10,000 to $20,000 a piece. So at present time, those would most likely be the most valuable paintings or types of art that I own at present time. So I hope that answers your question. Next question. Sean, do collectible markets ever fundamentally shift in response to higher prices? For example, many high-quality U.S. coins are beyond the price point for an average collector. This is 100% correct. Yes, what happens is that's usually what drives speculation in more modern markets and or collectibles. So for instance, right now, with the massive price appreciation that is occurring in the vintage comic book market, that is causing most Golden Age, Silver Age, Bronze Age keys to accelerate in value. For instance, an Incredible Hulk 181 in CGC 9.4 condition that you could have bought literally several months back for $10,000 or less, which is now selling for $21,000 or more at present time. That price appreciation is putting pressure on entry collectors to go after more modern era comic books. So instead of going after an Incredible Hulk 181, they're going after an Ultimate Fallout 4 or a Walking Dead 1 or even an Amazing Spider-Man 300. Now, you guys know what I feel about those particular comic books in particular. They're too speculative. However, I understand why a lot of collectors are going after that particular market because they can no longer afford to go after some of these comic books that are now selling for $5, $10, $15, $20, $25,000 when literally a year, 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago, you could have got them for literally a quarter of the prices that they're selling for now. But that is what's driving a lot of these markets. It's no different than people who are coming into the market for Marvel Universe trading cards or Garbage Pail Kids or some of these more esoteric trading cards at present time. They see what Pokemon cards are selling for, they see what Magic the Gathering cards are selling for, and they want a piece of the market, but they're unable to be able to pay 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, $100,000 for some of these trading cards. So they're going after lower tiers in that particular market. Now, this is bad for multiple reasons because what it's doing is it's putting price pressure on more modern era products that should not have that much demand at present time. So in actuality, you could argue that it is creating an artificial demand, speculative-driven market in a lot of these mass-produced collecting markets. Whether we look at modern-era Pokemon cards, modern-era Magic the Gathering cards, even modern-era video games, modern-era comic books, modern-era toys. There's a lot of people that are now operating in these markets because they can't afford the true vintage, the true authentically collectible stuff at present time. So yes, you are 100% correct here. When we look at coins, there's a lot of people, and I don't agree with this, but there's a lot of people that are going after modern era US Mint issues. They're getting them graded through NGC or PCGS in Proof 69, Proof 70, and they're paying a premium for them on the secondary market. In my opinion, those markets are inherently risky, whereas if you do want to invest in traditional classic coins, I'm sorry to say, you're going to have to spend the money, and you are going to have to spend $2,000, $3,000, $5,000 per coin that you are going to add to your collection if you want to own something significant and historic. So markets are always changing as a result of upward price appreciation. So let that be a lesson for you if you get anything out of this video. Next question. Hi, Sean. Do you listen to podcasts? If so, what are some of your recommendations for antiques and collectibles and financial podcasts? There's so many to mention. Eventually, I'm going to do a separate video on this. Believe it or not, I don't agree with him politically. I do occasionally listen to Dave Ramsey. I, of course, listen to Graham Stephan. I do like Meet Kevin. There's a plethora of YouTubers, of podcasts out there that are geared towards financial betterment. Some I agree with, some I do not. That'll be the subject of another upcoming video, as will also, I will be doing a video on a lot of YouTubers that I listen to frequently, both inside the antiques and collectibles trade and also outside the antiques and collectibles trade. Believe it or not, and some of you have already discovered this, if you actually type in my name in a Google search, it actually will list my true original YouTube channel under my real name that does have certain, how do I want to say this, certain YouTube channels that I am subscribed to. And people have noticed that I am subscribed to a lot of channels that deal with relationship advice. Some of them are red-pilled. Others of them are not. Some of them deal with relationships with narcissists, borderlines, and even just generalized relationship advice. For instance, there's one particular woman that I really like. She's Susan Winters, and she gives a lot of good relationship advice. So I do listen to a plethora of different YouTube channels, both inside the antiques and collectibles trade and also outside the antiques and collectibles trade. Another video, we will talk about that. Next question. Sean, what would you say are the ages in the video game world? In other words, what is the golden, silver, bronze age, etc., like there are in comics? Okay, I hate this question, and let me explain why. Even if we look at comic books right now, when I say golden age, when I say silver age, when I say bronze age, when I say copper age, I know a lot of you guys that collect comic books can follow along, and in your head, you know what I'm talking about specifically. For instance, if I say Amazing Spider-Man 129, or Incredible Hulk 181, or Giant Size X-Men 1, or X-Men 94, you guys know that I'm referring to the Bronze Age era of comic books, where if I say Tales of Suspense 39, or Amazing Spider-Man 15, Amazing Fantasy 15, you guys know that I'm talking about the Silver Age of comic books. Well, believe it or not, that's still hotly debated over on the CGC comic collecting forums, where there's a lot of people that don't agree with the breakdowns of the Golden Age, Silver Age, Bronze Age, Copper Age, Modern Age, and the like. Now, this plays into other collecting markets perfectly, because right now, there's a lot of collectors, there's a lot of market manipulators, there's a lot of speculators, and there's a lot of investors that are trying to define the era of certain Pokemon collecting markets or Magic the Gathering. What's the Bronze Age, Silver Age, Modern Age, Golden Age of Magic the Gathering collecting? And one of the things that I want to tell you guys, I'm sorry, at this particular time, those markets are way too speculative to define certain eras. And I know there's a lot of popular YouTubers out there that are trying to break down, well, when we look at video game collecting, the Atari, Intellivision, ColecoVision, that's Golden Age, Nintendo is Silver Age, then you get to Nintendo 64, GameCube, possibly the Nintendo Wii, that's Bronze Age, and they try to break this down into nice little neat chunks so that if you're a collector, a speculator, or an investor or an evil market manipulator out there, you can use that to your advantage. And you can say, hey, this WATA 9.8 Atari 2600 game comes from the golden age of video game collectibles. I'm here to tell you, it's all BS. It's all bullshit. These markets are not established yet. You are still operating on the speculative side of the trade. So no one can tell you what the modern era or the copper age or the Bronze Age of Magic the Gathering, of Pokemon, of Nintendo collecting is at present time. Now, obviously, you can use common sense a little bit. If you're going after a PSA 10 Library of Alexandria or another Arabian Nights card or a card from Antiquities or a card from Legends, obviously, chances are that's going to be part of the golden age of Magic the Gathering if we ever get around to assigning some of these little monikers to the market. But I'm here to tell you, it's all hype. It's all bullshit at this particular time. Even when we talk about comic books, in my opinion, I see very little difference between Bronze Age books, Copper Age books, and to a certain extent, modern era books. Gold, Silver Age books, yeah, you could put them in their own little separate category. But when we start to break this down, who does it really benefit? It benefits the speculators, it benefits the investors, it benefits the auction houses, it benefits the market makers and the market manipulators who can say, this is a key Golden Age collectible, or this is a key Silver Age collectible. And all the starry-eyed speculators go, oh my God, it's from the Silver Age. I gotta have that particular item. It's a key investment-grade blue chip collectible as a result. And I sit there and I ask the question, okay, who came up with these terms? Why are they so relevant? You can have an item from the Golden Age that is just as common as an item from the Bronze Age, all things being equal. It just depends on how many were kept, how many were preserved. And that's the same thing when we talk about video games, when we talk about Magic the Gathering, when we talk about Pokemon. Relevance becomes more important. So I would rather you look at these markets from the standpoint of, is it truly rare? Is it scarce? Is it historically significant in that collecting category? For instance, if you come to me and you want to invest in Magic the Gathering cards, I'm going to tell you, okay, you're going to have to go after, though, key Magic the Gathering cards, whether you're going after the Power 9, whether you're going after key reserve list cards from Antiquities, Legends, Arabian Nights. If you want to invest in reserve list cards from Ice Age, from Visions, from Weatherlight, from Mirage, yeah, there's a couple of high profile cards in those particular sets, but they're not as iconic as Alpha, Beta, Arabian Nights, Legends, Antiquities. Even reserve list cards from the Dark are more iconic, in my opinion, than that of later sets. And I know that's controversial, but that's how you should analyze these markets. Not from the standpoint of, I'm investing in the golden age of Magic the Gathering, or what I think to be the silver age of Magic the Gathering, because those terms are going to change over time. And especially if that market becomes established, I'm going to tell you right now, a lot of people out there in the trade are going to define those particular eras different than people are defining them now in the year 2021. Remember, guys, Magic the Gathering came out in 1993. Pokemon came out in the United States in what, 1998? These markets are very young. They're very speculative. They're very new. Even video games. If you look at Nintendo, Nintendo pretty much came on the scene en masse in America in the year 1985. Literally, that market is still very new, very speculative. We don't know how it's going to be defined in the next 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years. So my advice to you to sum up this question, don't worry about how people are pretty much looking at these markets from a standpoint of golden age, silver age, bronze age, copper age, modern age. It doesn't even matter. So just let that be the lesson. Next question. Sean, love the channel. Can you recommend something to read about the market of Magic the Gathering singles or about similar markets? You're going to have to go online for this. There's no publication like Numismatic News or Coin World or Art Market or Main Antique Digest or Antique Trader that I could tell you to subscribe to that covers the Magic the Gathering market like it did back in the day when you read Scry magazine or Beckett Price Guides. Those particular publications just really are not relevant in the year 2021. So what I would tell you is just Google certain sites. I know there's some out there that I don't want to give credence to that do deal with speculating in Magic the Gathering markets and cards, whether from the modern era or from the vintage age. You can find them easily with a Google search. You can even go on, dare I say it, Reddit, MTG Finance, and they will give you some advice, both good and bad, over how to play these markets over the short term or over the long term. Next question. Sean, is there any difference in value getting items graded from an American or a Canadian grading company? Yes, you want to go after top tier companies if you are getting your particular collectibles graded. For instance, if you're going after coins, the two top tier companies are NGC and PCGS. And right now, whether you agree or disagree, PCGS has the edge in that particular market. If you're going after video games, right now it's Wada Games has the edge, but you also have VGA for more modern games, for more modern systems. If you want to get your amiibo graded, wouldn't recommend it, but if you do, you can go through VGA. If you collect action figures, AFA is pretty much the standard. If you collect currency, paper money like I do, PMG, which is owned by CGC, the Certified Collectibles Group out of Sarasota, Florida, they pretty much have the edge. If you collect comic books, obviously you're going to want to go through CGC out of Sarasota, Florida. So it just depends on what item you are collecting. You want to go towards top tier grading companies that have a lot of liquidity in the marketplace, recognition in the marketplace. For instance, if you want to grade trading cards, you have PSA, you have Beckett, you have CGC, depending on what trading card it is. All those markets have credibility, and they also have confidence in the overall trading market collectibles trade. So that's very important. You cannot go to a no-name company. You can't go to a company that has a shady reputation. So please learn from that. So if you live in Canada, you're most likely going to have to send your collectibles to the United States to get graded. If you live in Europe, you live in China, you live in Japan, you live in South America, you live in Germany and you're watching this video, you live in Australia, I'm sorry guys, you're probably going to have to send your treasured collectibles to the United States to get graded, depending on what type of collectibles you have and how much they're worth, because those particular grading companies that operate in the United States are pretty much well known in the collectibles trade overall. Next question, and this is going to be the final question for this particular Q&A series, because this is the finale. So this is the last one, guys. My question would be, newsstand versus direct editions in the comic book realm. Is this a silly fad, or is there a legit scarcity with these? In all honesty, it is too early to tell. What I will tell you right now, it appears that the market is taking this particular moniker of an item being newsstand versus direct edition very seriously, and collectors are paying a significant premium as a result. So as I always say, the trend is your friend around the bend until it ends. So honestly, in another 5, 10, 15 years, we will have our answer. But right now, it looks to be very real. It just depends on if younger collectors coming into the collectibles marketplace and collecting comic books are going to focus and be geared towards these particular monikers being defined on some of their collectible comic books. So that's who's going to decide this, the next generation. It's no different if you collect vintage Star Wars figures. There are different card back variations, and I'm not talking just 12 backs, 21 backs. There is a card back A, card back B, card back C. Some collectors only will collect a 12 back A card back to some of the vintage Star Wars figures that premiered in 1977 and 1978. So it depends if younger collectors adopt that same collecting trait or style. That's going to really affect the market going forward. So that's something that we got to look at. It's no different than if we look at collectible Nintendo games right now. There's a lot of people that will ask, well, is it a 3-screw? Is it a 5-screw Nintendo game? Is it factory sealed with a hang tab? Does it have an oval hang? You know what I mean? There's different variations of factory seals. Whether or not that carries through the next generation of collectors is what matters, and that's what's going to give that market legs. When we look at comic books, it's the younger collectors coming into that market that are going to decide if they're willing to pay a premium for either a newsstand or a direct edition in comic book collecting terms. So there is your answer, and that includes the 5,000 subscriber Q&A series. Please let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I am taking my glasses off. I am washing my face. I am taking a shower. Then I am going to bed. Have a good night, and I wish you all, depending on when this video premieres, a happy Easter if you do celebrate Easter. Thanks for watching, and good night.